There's something that happens in the quiet moments of the morning. Your alarm goes off, jarring you from sleep, but your mind has other plans. Suddenly, a voice begins whispering in your head, gentle, persuasive, seemingly reasonable. Just 5 more minutes, it says. You worked so hard yesterday. You deserve this rest. And as these thoughts circle in your mind, you feel that familiar pull toward comfort, that warmth that whispers, why make life harder than it needs to be? Why not take the easy path? We've all been there. Every single person reading this has negotiated with that voice. Some people give in immediately. Others fight it briefly before surrendering. Some have learned to recognize it for what it truly is. The voice of stagnation, disguised as kindness. But here's the truth that changes everything. You don't have to live at the mercy of that voice. Today, we're going on a journey together. A journey from weakness to strength. From comfort to growth, from excuses to action. If you're tired of feeling controlled by your impulses, if you're ready to learn how to build genuine discipline that lasts, then stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to transform not just your habits, but your entire relationship with yourself. Facing laziness without negotiation. Picture this. Every morning, you engage in a silent negotiation with an invisible opponent. This opponent never sleeps, never gets tired, and has unlimited arguments at its disposal. Its name is laziness, and it's been winning far too often. I'll start tomorrow, it whispers. This one day won't matter. I'm too tired right now. I deserve a break after working so hard. Sound familiar? Here's what most people don't realize. Laziness isn't just suggesting you rest, it's training you to quit. Every time you say yes to its negotiations, you're teaching your brain that excuses are more powerful than decisions. Think about Alex, a 28-year-old marketing professional who had big dreams. Every night before bed, Alex would set ambitious goals for the next day, wake up at 6 a.m., hit the gym, work on that side business, read for 30 minutes. But every morning when the alarm rang, the negotiations began. I'll wake up at 6:30 instead, then 7 o'clock, then 7:30. By the time Alex actually got up, the gym was out of the question, the side business remained untouched, and the only reading that happened was scrolling through social media. After a year of this pattern, Alex looked in the mirror and asked a painful question. How did I become someone I don't respect? The answer was simple but brutal. Alex had been negotiating with laziness and losing every single time. But here's the key insight that changed Alex's life. The moment you stop negotiating is the moment you start winning. Laziness thrives on debate. It loves when you entertain its arguments because it knows that given enough time, it can convince you of anything. But laziness has one fatal weakness. It cannot survive in the presence of immediate action. When your alarm goes off, you have exactly 3 seconds before laziness begins its pitch. In those 3 seconds, you have a choice. Engage in negotiation or move your body. The people who transform their lives have learned to choose movement over discussion. Here's a simple but powerful rule that can change everything. No bargaining before breakfast. From the moment you wake up until you've completed your morning routine, you don't negotiate with any impulse that pulls you toward comfort. Alarm rings, you get up. Time to exercise, you move. Time to work, you begin. This isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about recognizing that your future self is depending on the choices your present self makes right now. Action step. For the next 7 days, implement the 3-second rule. When you need to do something important, count down from 3 and then move your body immediately. 3, 2, 1, go. No thinking, no debating, just action. Notice how different it feels to bypass the negotiation phase entirely. The power of instant action. Most people wait until they feel ready. That's exactly why their dreams keep waiting too. Here's a truth that successful people understand but rarely talk about. Readiness is a feeling that comes after action, not before it. Think about the last time you accomplished something meaningful. I'll bet you didn't feel completely ready when you started. You probably felt nervous, uncertain, maybe even afraid, but you acted anyway. And somewhere in the middle of taking action, readiness found you. The brain has an interesting quirk. It creates more resistance to tasks that haven't been started than to tasks that are in progress. This is why the hardest part of going to the gym isn't the workout, it's putting on your shoes. The hardest part of writing isn't finding the perfect words, it's opening a blank document. Psychologists call this the activation energy principle. Every task has an initial energy barrier that feels disproportionately large compared to what follows. Once you push through that barrier, momentum takes over. Consider Maria, a working mother who wanted to start a blog but kept waiting for the perfect time to begin. She told herself she needed to research the best platform, develop a content strategy, and find her unique voice before writing her first post. Months passed. The perfect time never came. Then Maria learned about instant action. Instead of planning the perfect blog, she opened her laptop and wrote one paragraph about her experience juggling work and motherhood. Just one paragraph, but that paragraph broke the spell. The next day, she wrote 2 paragraphs. Within a week, she had her first complete post. Within a month, she had launched her blog. The magic wasn't in the perfect plan, it was in the decision to start before she felt ready. The 3-2-1 method is your weapon against overthinking. When you think of something you need to do, count down from 3 and then take one small action immediately. Not tomorrow, not after you've planned it perfectly, right now. Need to exercise, 3-2-1, put on your workout clothes. Need to call someone, 3-2-1, pick up the phone. Need to work on a project, 3-2-1, open the file. The action doesn't have to be big, it just has to be immediate, because immediate action creates something that planning never can, momentum. But here's the crucial part. You must shrink the action to make it instant. Don't commit to a 2-hour workout when you count down. Commit to putting on your gym clothes. Don't commit to writing a chapter. Commit to writing one sentence. The goal isn't to finish everything in those first few seconds. The goal is to break the barrier between thought and action. Once you've started, your brain shifts from resistance mode to flow mode. Action step. Right now, think of one task you've been putting off. Set a timer for 10 minutes and use the 3-2-1 method to start it immediately. Don't worry about finishing, just focus on beginning. Notice how different the task feels once you've broken through the initial resistance. Discipline and self-care, the missing balance. Here's where most discipline advice goes wrong. It treats your body and mind like machines that should operate at maximum capacity without breaks, maintenance, or compassion. This approach doesn't just fail, it backfires spectacularly. When you try to force discipline through punishment and deprivation, you create an internal rebellion. Your subconscious mind begins to associate discipline with suffering, making it increasingly difficult to maintain healthy habits. True discipline isn't about forcing yourself to work harder. It's about creating conditions where doing the right thing becomes easier and more sustainable. Let me tell you about David, a software engineer who tried the discipline through suffering approach. He forced himself to wake up at 5 a.m. despite being a natural night owl. He cut out all enjoyable foods. He worked 12-hour days without breaks. For 3 weeks, he felt like a discipline machine. Then he crashed hard. He slept until noon for a week straight, binged on junk food, and couldn't bring himself to work on anything meaningful. His rigid discipline had triggered an equally extreme rebellion. When David learned about balanced discipline, everything changed. Instead of forcing himself to wake up at 5 a.m., he gradually shifted his schedule 15 minutes earlier each week. Instead of eliminating all treats, he planned one small indulgence each day. Instead of working without breaks, he scheduled rest periods just as seriously as he scheduled work time. The result? David not only maintained his new habits for over 2 years, but he actually enjoyed the process. His discipline became sustainable because it included self-care as a core component, not an afterthought. The 80-20 discipline principle. 80% of the time, make choices that align with your long-term goals. 20% of the time, allow flexibility and enjoyment without guilt. This isn't permission to be lazy, it's recognition that humans aren't machines. We need rest, pleasure, and variety to function optimally. When you plan for these needs instead of fighting them, discipline becomes a sustainable lifestyle, rather than a temporary sprint. Recovery is part of the process, not a break from it. Just as athletes schedule rest days to prevent injury and improve performance, you need to schedule mental and emotional recovery to maintain psychological health. This means taking breaks without feeling guilty, enjoying treats without shame, saying no to commitments that drain your energy, adjusting your standards when you're going through difficult times. The strongest people aren't those who never rest, they're those who rest strategically so they can perform consistently over the long term. Action step. Identify one area where you've been too rigid in your approach to discipline. This week, experiment with adding more flexibility while maintaining your core commitment. For example, if you exercise every single day, try exercising 6 days with one planned rest day. Notice whether this actually improves your consistency and enjoyment. Mastering your internal dialogue. Every day, you have approximately 60,000 thoughts. Many of these thoughts happen automatically, without your conscious awareness. But among these thousands of thoughts, there's a particular type that has enormous power over your behavior, the thoughts you think about yourself and your capabilities. Most people are walking around with an internal critic that would make Gordon Ramsay seem gentle by comparison. This voice remembers every mistake, magnifies every flaw, and predicts failure in every challenge. You're not disciplined enough. You always start things but never finish them. Who are you kidding? You'll quit like you always do. Here's what's insidious about negative self-talk. It doesn't just describe your reality, it creates it. When you repeatedly tell yourself you're undisciplined, you start acting in ways that confirm that belief. You create what psychologists call a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the reverse is also true. When you learn to speak to yourself with the voice of a supportive coach rather than a harsh critic, your behavior begins to align with that more positive narrative. This isn't about positive thinking or lying to yourself. It's about replacing destructive self-talk with constructive self-direction. Instead of, I never follow through on anything, try, I'm building my follow-through skills one day at a time. Instead of, I'm so lazy, try, I'm learning to choose action over comfort. Instead of, I'll probably fail anyway, try, I'll give this my best effort and learn from whatever happens. The difference isn't just in how these statements feel, it's in what they make possible. Harsh self-criticism creates shame and paralysis. Constructive self-direction creates motivation and possibility. The voice replacement technique. Notice when your internal critic speaks. Pause instead of automatically believing what it says. Ask, is this thought helping me or hinting me? Replace destructive thoughts with constructive ones. Act based on the new, more helpful thought. This takes practice. You've probably been talking to yourself in certain ways for years or decades. Be patient with the process, but be consistent with the practice. Action step. For the next week, carry a small notebook or use your phone to track negative self-talk. Each time you catch yourself being unnecessarily harsh, write down what you said and then rewrite it in a more constructive way. Don't try to eliminate all challenging thoughts. Just replace the destructive ones with more helpful alternatives. The compound effect of small repetitions. Here's a question that reveals everything about how change really works. Would you rather have $1 million today or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? Most people would take the $1 million, but they'd be making a costly mistake. That penny, doubling daily, would be worth over $5 million by day 30. This is the power of compound growth, and it applies to habits just as much as it applies to money. Small actions, repeated consistently, create massive results over time. But here's the challenge. For the first 20 days, that doubling penny looks pathetic compared to the $1 million. On day 10, it's worth about $5. On day 20, it's worth about $5,000. It's not until the final few days that the exponential growth becomes obvious. Habit change works exactly the same way. The results are invisible for weeks or even months. Then, seemingly overnight, everything changes. Most people quit during the invisible phase because they can't see the progress. They go to the gym for 2 weeks and wonder why they don't look like a fitness model. They eat healthy for a month and get frustrated that they haven't transformed their entire relationship with food. But the people who understand compound growth, they trust the process even when they can't see the results. They know that every repetition is building neural pathways, even when the external changes aren't visible yet. Consider the story of James, who decided to read for just 10 minutes every morning. For the first month, it felt insignificant. 10 minutes wasn't enough to finish anything substantial. He questioned whether it was worth the effort. But James understood compound growth. He trusted that consistency matters more than intensity. By the end of the year, those 10-minute sessions had added up to over 60 hours of reading, enough to complete 12 to 15 books. More importantly, reading had become automatic. He no longer had to force himself to pick up a book. His brain expected it. Want to exercise? Commit to putting on workout clothes every day. Want to write? Commit to writing one sentence every day. Want to meditate? Commit to taking 3 conscious breaths every day. Want to eat healthier? Commit to eating 1 piece of fruit every day. These habits seem almost absurdly small. That's the point. You're not trying to achieve dramatic results immediately. You're trying to wire a new pattern into your brain with the least possible resistance. Once the tiny habit becomes automatic, usually 2 to 6 weeks, you can gradually expand it. But the foundation, the daily repetition, remains constant. The most important rule of compound habits: never break the chain twice in a row. If you miss one day, get back on track immediately. Missing one day is human. Missing 2 days in a row is the beginning of a broken habit. Action step. Choose one small habit you want to build and commit to the smallest possible version for the next 30 days. Make it so easy that you'd feel silly not doing it. Track your daily completion on a calendar or app. Focus on consistency, not results. Strategic self-command. The way you speak to yourself in moments of challenge determines whether you rise to meet that challenge or shrink away from it. Most people use either harsh criticism, "You're pathetic, just do it," or weak encouragement. Maybe you could try to do this if you feel like it. Neither approach works well. Harsh criticism creates shame and resistance. Weak encouragement lacks the power to overcome resistance. What works is strategic self-command. Speaking to yourself with the clarity and authority of a trusted coach who believes in your capabilities but won't accept excuses. Instead of, "I should probably exercise," try, "I exercise now." Instead of, "I'll try to get up early," try, "I wake up at 6 a.m." Instead of, "Maybe I'll work on that project," try, "I complete one task immediately." Notice the difference. Strategic self-commands are specific. What exactly will you do? Immediate. When will you do it? Certain. No hedge words like try or maybe. This isn't about being rigid or unrealistic. It's about training your brain to expect action rather than negotiation. Your body and mind are more connected than most people realize. When you use physical commands, you activate both your mental and physical systems. Stand up now instead of "I should get up." Walk to the kitchen instead of "I need to eat something healthy." Open the laptop instead of "I should work on that project." Physical commands bypass the thinking mind and activate the doing mind. They're particularly useful when you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck. For moments when resistance feels overwhelming, have an emergency protocol ready. Stop what you're doing. Breathe deeply 3 times. Choose one tiny action you can take immediately. Command yourself clearly, "I specific action now." Move your body without further thought. This protocol interrupts the spiral of overthinking and gets you back into action mode. The goal isn't to become a drill sergeant with yourself. The goal is to develop the ability to give yourself clear, kind, but firm direction when your emotions are trying to lead you away from your commitments. Action step. Practice strategic self-command for one specific area this week. Choose an area where you typically use weak language, "I should," "I'll try," "maybe," and replace it with clear commands, "I will," "I do," "I complete." Notice how different it feels to speak to yourself with authority rather than uncertainty. Creating positive pressure. Pressure gets a bad reputation, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for building discipline. The key is learning to create the right kind of pressure, the kind that motivates rather than overwhelms. Think about diamonds. They're created under intense pressure and heat deep within the earth. Without that pressure, carbon remains graphite, soft and easily broken. With the right amount of pressure applied over time, it becomes one of the hardest substances on earth. Your discipline works the same way. Too little pressure and you remain soft, easily bent by every impulse and distraction. The right amount of pressure applied consistently transforms you into someone strong and resilient. Here are the 3 types of positive pressure. 1. Time pressure, deadlines. Instead of saying, "I'll get this done eventually," create specific deadlines, but make them realistic and tied to something meaningful. Instead of, "I'll write a book someday," try, "I'll complete the first draft by December 31st because I want to enter the new year having accomplished this meaningful goal." 2. Social pressure, accountability. Tell people about your commitments, not to impress them, but to create external accountability. When someone asks, "How's that project going?" you feel natural pressure to have progress to report. Find an accountability partner who will check in with you weekly. Share your goals on social media. Join a group of people working towards similar objectives. 3. Financial pressure, skin in the game. Invest money in your goals. Buy the gym membership, hire the coach, register for the class. When you have financial investment, quitting costs money, which creates pressure to follow through. Spend 5 minutes each week visualizing 2 futures. Future A. What your life looks like if you continue with your current habits. Future B. What your life looks like if you successfully build the discipline you're working toward. Make both visions specific and emotional. What do you see, feel, and experience in each future? How do others respond to you? How do you feel about yourself? This creates emotional pressure by making the consequences of your choices feel real and immediate. And remember, even positive pressure needs outlets. Schedule specific times to relax without guilt. Have a weekly pressure-free activity you enjoy. Adjust your standards during especially stressful periods. Celebrate progress, not just outcomes. The goal is steady, sustainable pressure that motivates consistent action without creating burnout. Action step. Choose one area where you've been too comfortable and add one form of positive pressure this week. Either set a specific deadline, tell someone about your commitment, or invest money in the outcome. Notice how this changes your level of urgency and focus. Building resilience through chosen difficulty. Here's a paradox that most people never understand. The more you avoid discomfort, the more uncomfortable your life becomes. The more you seek comfort, the less resilient you become to life's inevitable challenges. But when you voluntarily choose difficulty, when you deliberately do hard things when you don't have to, you build what psychologists call stress inoculation. You become stronger, more confident, and more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Think about vaccines. They work by introducing a small, controlled amount of a virus into your system. Your immune system learns to recognize and fight the threat, making you immune to the larger, more dangerous version. Chosen difficulty works as a psychological vaccine. When you voluntarily do hard things, you build mental antibodies that protect you when truly difficult situations arise. Examples of chosen difficulty. Taking cold showers when you could take hot ones. Walking when you could drive. Cooking when you could order takeout. Having difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. Waking up early when you could sleep in. The keyword is chosen. This isn't about punishing yourself or making life unnecessarily hard. It's about strategically building your tolerance for discomfort. Consider the story of Rachel, a marketing executive who felt overwhelmed by her demanding job. Every challenge at work felt like a crisis. Every difficult conversation felt traumatic. She was constantly stressed and considering quitting. Then Rachel learned about chosen difficulty. She started small, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, having one difficult conversation per week instead of avoiding them, waking up 30 minutes earlier to exercise before work. These small acts of voluntary discomfort began building her confidence. She realized that if she could choose to do hard things, she could handle hard things when they were imposed on her. Within 6 months, work stress that used to overwhelm her now felt manageable. This is the comfort zone expansion exercise. Once per week, do something that makes you slightly uncomfortable but isn't harmful. Speak up in a meeting when you normally wouldn't. Start a conversation with a stranger. Try a physical activity that challenges you. Express an opinion you normally keep to yourself. Ask for something you want but are afraid to request. The goal isn't to become someone who seeks out suffering. The goal is to become someone who isn't controlled by the need for comfort. Important distinction. Chosen difficulty should be challenging but not overwhelming. You're building strength, not breaking yourself down. Start small and gradually increase the challenge as your tolerance builds. When you regularly choose difficulty, something remarkable happens. Your relationship with discomfort changes. Instead of seeing discomfort as something to be avoided at all costs, you begin to see it as information, as feedback, as a sign that you're growing. Action step. This week, choose one small difficulty each day. Nothing dangerous or harmful, just something slightly uncomfortable that you normally avoid. Notice how your confidence grows as you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Overcoming impulses with future focus. Every day, you face dozens of small choices between immediate pleasure and long-term benefit. Should you scroll social media or read a book? Should you eat the donut or have the apple? Should you stay up late watching Netflix or go to bed early? These choices seem small in the moment, but they're actually the building blocks of your entire life. The quality of your future is determined by how well you handle these moment-to-moment impulses. In the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment, children who could resist eating one marshmallow to get 2 marshmallows later showed better life outcomes decades later, higher SAT scores, lower obesity rates, better relationships. But here's what's crucial. The children who succeeded weren't just exercising willpower, they were using specific strategies to manage their impulses. Strategy 1. The future self-visualization. When you feel an impulse to choose immediate pleasure over long-term benefit, pause and ask, how will I feel about this choice in 1 hour, 1 day, 1 year? Most impulses offer pleasure that lasts minutes, but create consequences that last much longer. When you extend your time horizon, the right choice often becomes obvious. Strategy 2. The 2-path technique. Visualize 2 versions of yourself 1 year from now. Version A. The person you become if you consistently give in to impulses. Version B. The person you become if you consistently choose long-term benefit. Make these visions specific and emotional. What does each version look like? How do they feel about themselves? What opportunities are available to each? This creates emotional weight that can overcome the pull of immediate gratification. Strategy 3. The replacement habit. Instead of trying to eliminate impulses through willpower alone, replace them with healthier alternatives. Feel the urge to scroll social media, open a book or podcast instead. Want to eat junk food? Drink a glass of water first. Tempted to stay up late? Go to your bedroom and do gentle stretches. The goal isn't to eliminate all pleasure, but to redirect impulses toward choices that serve your long-term goals. Strategy 4. The 10-10-10 rule. Before acting on an impulse, ask yourself, how will I feel about this choice in 10 minutes? How will I feel about this choice in 10 months? How will I feel about this choice in 10 years? This simple framework helps you see beyond the immediate moment and consider the full consequences of your actions. For 1 week, track your impulses without trying to change them. Notice what triggers them: stress, boredom, specific situations. What time of day they're strongest. Which ones you resist and which ones you follow. This awareness alone will begin to weaken their power over you. You can't change what you don't notice. Remember, the goal isn't to become a robot who never enjoys immediate pleasures. The goal is to become someone who chooses those pleasures consciously rather than compulsively, and who can delay gratification when it serves your larger purposes. Action step. Choose one recurring impulse you'd like to manage better. For the next week, use the future self-visualization technique every time that impulse arises. Before acting, ask yourself how you'll feel about the choice in 1 hour and 1 day. Notice how this changes your decision-making. Focused energy allocation. In our hyper-connected world, the scarcest resource isn't time or money, it's focused attention. Every notification, every interruption, every random thought pulls your mental energy in different directions. By the end of the day, you feel exhausted but can't point to meaningful progress. This is the modern epidemic. Busy but not productive, active but not effective. The solution isn't working harder or longer, it's learning to direct your energy with laser precision toward the activities that create the most meaningful results. The 80-20 principle applied to discipline. In any area of life, roughly 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. The same principle applies to discipline. 20% of your habits produce 80% of your progress. 20% of your daily actions create 80% of your satisfaction. 20% of your time investments generate 80% of your growth. The key is identifying your high-impact 20% and protecting that time and energy ruthlessly. For 1 week, track how you spend your energy across these categories: creation, writing, building, designing, planning; connection, meaningful conversations, relationship building; consumption, reading, learning, entertainment; maintenance, emails, household tasks, routine activities; reaction, responding to interruptions, putting out fires. Most people spend 70% of their energy on maintenance and reaction, leaving little for creation and growth. Disciplined people flip this ratio. Each morning, identify the 3 most important tasks that will move your life forward. These aren't necessarily the most urgent tasks, they're the most impactful ones. Complete these 3 tasks before doing anything else. No emails, no social media, no busy work, just focused effort on what matters most. This simple practice ensures that even if the rest of your day gets derailed, you've made meaningful progress on your priorities. Let's take a look at this energy protection strategies. Batch similar activities. Check email twice daily, not throughout the day. Create no templates for common requests that don't align with your priorities. Use the phone in another room rule during focused work. Schedule your peak energy hours for your most important work. Set boundaries around your time without guilt or over-explanation. Before saying yes to any request, opportunity, or activity, ask, is this the best use of my energy to achieve my most important goals? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it's a no. This isn't about becoming selfish or antisocial, it's about becoming intentional. When you protect your energy for what matters most, you actually have more to give to the people and causes you care about. The focus ritual. Develop a 5-minute ritual that signals to your brain it's time for focused work. Clear your workspace, turn off notifications, take 3 deep breaths. Review your intention for this work session. Begin with the most challenging task. This ritual creates a mental boundary between scattered mode and focused mode. Action step. For the next week, implement the Big 3 methodology. Each morning, identify your 3 most important tasks and complete them before checking email or social media. Track how this changes both your productivity and your sense of accomplishment. Building your disciplined identity. The deepest level of change happens not when you change what you do, but when you change who you believe you are. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. When you go to the gym, you're voting to be someone who is fit. When you read instead of watching TV, you're voting to be someone who is educated. When you choose the difficult conversation over avoidance, you're voting to be someone who is courageous. The identity-based discipline approach focuses on becoming rather than achieving. Instead of, I want to lose 20 pounds, outcome-based, try, I am becoming someone who makes healthy choices, identity-based. Instead of, I want to write a book, outcome-based, try, I am becoming someone who writes consistently, identity-based. The two-step identity change process. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every time you act in alignment with your desired identity, you strengthen that identity. Every time you act against it, you weaken it. Before making any decision, ask yourself, what would a disciplined person do in this situation? What would someone who has their life together choose here? How would the person I want to become handle this moment? Then act accordingly, not because you are that person yet, but because you are becoming that person. The evidence collection method. Keep a daily record of evidence that supports your new identity. Evidence: I am becoming disciplined. I woke up on time despite feeling tired. Evidence: I am becoming healthy. I chose water over soda at lunch. Evidence: I am becoming focused. I worked for 90 minutes without checking my phone. This isn't about being perfect. It's about noticing and celebrating the moments when you act in alignment with who you're becoming. Handling identity challenges. When you slip up, and you will, avoid language that reinforces a negative identity. Instead of, I'm so undisciplined, I always mess up. Try, that choice didn't align with who I'm becoming. What can I learn from this? The goal is to see mistakes as feedback rather than evidence of fundamental character flaws. Surround yourself with people who reflect your desired identity. Join groups of people who embody the discipline you want to develop. Their standards and behaviors will gradually become your standards and behaviors. This doesn't mean abandoning old friends, but it does mean being intentional about who influences your thinking and behavior patterns. Action step. Define the type of person you want to become in one clear sentence. I am becoming someone who. For the next 30 days, ask yourself the identity question before making important decisions, and keep a daily record of evidence that supports this new identity. Your balanced beginning. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to understand something crucial. Building discipline is not about perfection. It's not about never making mistakes or never feeling like giving up. It's about creating a sustainable system that allows you to grow consistently while maintaining your humanity. You are not a machine that needs to be programmed for maximum output. You are a human being with needs, emotions, and limitations that deserve respect and compassion. The path forward isn't about forcing yourself into an impossible standard of perfection. It's about building a relationship with discipline that feels supportive rather than punitive, challenging rather than overwhelming, sustainable rather than extreme. Remember, every person who has built lasting discipline started exactly where you are now, with imperfection, uncertainty, and the simple desire to become better. The journey begins with one small choice. Put down your phone for the next hour and do one thing that matters to you. Write one paragraph, take one walk, make one healthy meal, have one important conversation, clean one small area, learn one new thing. Not because you feel motivated, not because conditions are perfect, not because you have a complete plan. Simply because you are choosing to become someone who acts with intention rather than impulse. Your transformation starts now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when life gets easier. Right now, with whatever you have, wherever you are, however you feel. Take the first step. Replace one negotiation with action. Use the 3-2-1 method once. Speak to yourself with kindness but firmness. Choose difficulty over comfort in one small way. Focus your energy on what truly matters for just 1 hour. One step, one choice, one moment of deciding that your future self deserves better than your past patterns. Your disciplined life is waiting, but it will only come to those who stop waiting for it and start building it, one balanced choice at a time. The time for excuses is over. The time for sustainable action begins now. Welcome to your balanced beginning.